the record. Thank you.
This meeting is being recorded.
Such a nice voice. So I also want to encourage folks to unmute themselves when and if they have comments or questions. So that helps create a really folksy circle of intentional community. And also for our featured poet to hear how you feel about the work that they've shared. I'm going to start the night off with a couple of pieces, and then Alice or Jeffrey or anyone else in the space who wants to help warm the room before we welcome Kamala on to do her featured reading, go ahead and prepare or pull out, you know, some magical file folder of work if you have something to share. So let me see if I actually have something on this. You know, when we use multiple devices, it's really interesting because sometimes it's like, oh, it's not on this computer, it's on a different one. So this is a piece, I find it very timely right now, sad to say, but it's about the idea of being so compatible with co-producers in the art world that you feel like almost like the surgeon in the surgery room, surgical space, where you just put out your hand and somebody magically puts a wrench or a, you know, whatever you need. The tool is there, or they know how to finish your questions or your statements because they know you so well. In order to achieve the higher goal, which is to get the show on the stage, or get the paintings on the wall, or get the dancers, you know, all dressed up and ready to ricochet and tap. So this piece is called Gabriela in the metro station, because my friend Gabriela, who lives here in Fort Worth, just, I felt like we have such a symbiosis. So the actual title is In the Metro Tunnel with Gabriela. In the metro tunnel with Gabriela, she rubs the lamp while I click my heels, and the amused gentleman in the sports jacket holding a broken flashlight smiles gently as he watches, and the soot-smeared face of the now orphaned child lights up as we smile in her direction and reach for her hand. In the metro tunnel with Gabriela, she has remembered the radio, and I distribute the bread. And the shaken wife, whose blonde husband is lost, asks to sit with us, and we quietly oblige. And the hungry teacher with the frostbitten toes thanks me for bread as I put my gloves on his feet. In the metro tunnel with Gabriela, we have not rehearsed for this moment, but we have instincts to trust in one another. The tunnel fills with our warmth, and the voices begin to hum with happier notes. Much tenderness is shown. I know we have brought comfort without plan, and it is the least we can do. Our lives have prepared us for this. In the metro tunnel with Gabriela, her laughter disperses the smell of sorrow, like ancestors taught us when we listened. In the metro tunnel with Gabriela, above us the sirens sound, but all I choose to hear is the thump of brave hearts surviving this darkness. I finished that poem years ago. I've tweaked it a bit, but reading it tonight and thinking about this poem all week, it's what the Ukrainians are experiencing, reaching out and becoming family in order to survive together and create comfort and warmth for themselves. Thank you for listening. One never knows when the emotions will well up during the reading of a piece. It's just words, right? No, it's more than words. So is there anybody else in the space who'd like to help warm the room with a comment or a philosophical pronouncement or something like that? Oh, Alice, go for it.
I could say a word or two just about the gratitude I have for your ongoing series, Tammy, bringing us together in this time of separation. And the gratitude for your beautiful, astounding words. And I'm very excited about what Kamala is going to present. I've been reading her book the last few days. Gravity prevails, you know. So, I mean, that's how I'm reading it right now. But so many bird poems, so beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful. I haven't read it all the way through, Kamala, but it's a fabulous book. And thank you. And so my two overwhelming feelings are that you bring us together with all the dandos, and looking forward to hearing Kamala present her own words. And I'm hoping, Tammy, you will present something more too. And I don't know what other poets are lined up. That's it.
Alice, can you tell us about the picture in the background? I think it's some of your work.
Oh, yes, it's a piece I started 30 years ago, maybe. And I'm reapproaching it and changing it because just like you guys speak the future into being, I'm painting a new future for myself. So the life of 30 years ago no longer fits. This juggling guy, juggle people, I'm gonna paint him out. I might put somebody else in there. I might just have sky there. I'm thinking of birds, and I'm reading Rudy Garcia's novel, the what is it? Death Song of the Dragon, and I have no idea how to say it. Chicxulub, something like that. I don't know if I can do this. Nope, I can't. But his imagery is very poetic. Anyway, thank you, Kamala, for asking me about my painting. But yeah, that's how we make our futures, right?
That's right.
I see a dark-haired figure behind you, but it's kind of obscured when you sit there. And I was wondering, what is the meaning of that? Who is that young person? Is that younger
In the middle.
Alice?
That's
In the middle, yes, with the bangs. Who's that?
the children. You know my daughter Tanzi, still unseen. So it's Tanzi and Allie, and Daniel has been running 30 years without a face. So that's one of my first orders of business, is to give him a face. But the Tanzi figure kind of, the girls look like themselves. So thank you for asking. Did you kind of sense it might be Tanzi?
No, but she seemed delightful. I used to have bangs when I was a little girl for the first 13 years of my life, it seemed. So I was seeing a little bit of myself in that image.
Cool. Oh, hey, that's inspiring. I will think about that.
I'm just now also posting the Zoom link in the Facebook event page in case folks are having a hard time finding our address for tonight. Done.
Yeah.
So thank you, Alice. And I do want to have a conversation with you later on, Alice, and you as well, Kamala, but I can announce it now that I'm being pulled into an interesting project that is just now in its infancy, and it's a theater project working with writers and 2 directors from different places in the US. I made the argument successfully that if we're going to look at climate change in the US, that we have to stop saying that we have 2 coasts. There's a 3rd coast. So they are acknowledging that. And they're courting me to be one of the writers for this dramatic script. And it's very much in its infancy, like I said, and we may not see a culmination in terms of a performance or broadcast until 2023 or after that. It will be a hybrid virtual and in-person performance work. So that's all I know. But I see your art, and Kamala, I'm aware of your writings. So as a fellow Tejana, I just feel an obligation to mention who you are, what you do. Once we start bringing in the artists, technicians, and the producers of the actual work, the visual work. So welcome to all, and I would love to introduce, well, someone's just now arriving, Michael. Yeah. Jeffrey or anyone else, did y'all have any kind of greeting or note to bring up before we move further on? Okay, at this point, I'm going to read from the Flower Song Press website, the bio information provided about Kamala. And I may only read the first paragraph
Yeah.
or two. There's,
You don't need to read it all.
yeah, and I can set the link for it if you want to read it in its completion. Kamala Platt, PhD, MFA, is adjunct professora, artist, independent scholar, and author in South Texas and at the Meadowlark Center, Kansas. Publications include Weeds Lovers, Finishing Line, On the Line, Wings Press, and Quinientos. And she has shared her visual and performance art and poetry broadly, most often in community arts and cultural centers, such as Esperanza Peace and Justice Center. I think that's how I met you, Kamala. Through green Rasquache Lifeways, Kamala searches borderlands for footholds of dignity and well-being amidst a feverish planet's crises. Her current scholarship shares women's environmental justice poetics, creating a lens through which to understand visions of a sustainable future. I can't have you on to read until, Kamala, I mentioned that you are based in West Side Barrio of San Antonio, and it is has become your habitat as of late, and you've really established yourself there communally as well as with your plants and protecting the species that exist there, or trying very hard to in concert with others. Kamala held fellowships with Center for the Study of Women in Society, Feminist Research Institute, and the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center in San Antonio. And so I would love to welcome you, Kamala Platt, to share some of your work with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is my voice about the right?
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Here's the book. And Tammy, have you received your copy yet? No. Oh,
Not yet. Not yet. Thank you.
it took my dad like 3 weeks to get his, so I don't know what is going on there. But anyway, yeah, what I'm going to do is read a few poems from the back, starting from the back, because I always sort of pick up a book and go like this. And I decided that the last poem is actually an appropriate one for tonight, given that you mentioned it as MUJERX, as Women's Month and all of this. And the last poem is Mother Earth. Mother Earth pursues America's 19th Amendment. In the aftermath of a great pandemic that scourged our nation 100 years back in the month of Leo, in the heartland of August, Canicula, the nation ratified the rights of all women to vote. Following the struggle of women of all colors and creeds, men conceded to their humanity and wisdom. The 19th Amendment caught the eye of Mother Earth in her place at the center of the universe. She made plans to vote herself. Her citizenship was grandmothered. She is the greatest grandmother after all. Mother Earth predated all borders on earth, slavery, doctrine of discovery, and racist voting laws. She exists before and beyond pi r squared. So Mother Earth filled in a vote by mail form and sent it out across the universe to the east shore of Turtle Island, the up and coming 51st state, Douglas Commonwealth. Men paid no heed, nor did the women who had joined them slowly in the halls of Congress. 100 years passed, and nevertheless, Mother Earth persisted. Mother Earth 2020 still campaigns for her universal rights to have, I guess it should be 2022, still campaigns for her universal rights to have voice in all the nations who have not yet declared Earth hers to speak for. In the 21st century pandemic USA, women still struggle for equal pay for equal work. We play catch up with other nations. We have not yet inaugurated a woman to our helm. We have yet to give all equal access to the vote. When we slow the curve of our 2019 plus pandemic on the centenary of women's rights to vote, may we join those nations who have given voice to the rights of Mother Earth. May her vote guide all nations to equilibrium. So
Yes.
that's sort of a fun poem. And I don't know if anyone has any questions or I'm just remembering.
I have a question. Have you ever, I don't know how old that poem is when you wrote it. Have you used it to have or read it out loud to serve the function of kind of like calling in the tribe or kind of summoning the spirits or like an incantation or prayer?
I don't know that I've done it as a incantation, except I did read it for the climate reality project. I'm on that, and I wrote it about, well, it would have been in 2020, I guess. Yeah, 20 in the summer, and when it was the 100th anniversary of the women's or some women's right to vote. And I also am a precinct chair. And so part of, I'm supposed to be getting people, make sure they can get to the polls and have their, well, all the things that the vote is being suppressed here in Texas. I think everyone knows that. And so we're working on that, and it's become worse since I wrote the poem. But I think that was in my mind. And then the other thing about the other part of it is where I talk about we have not yet declared Mother Earth, her universal rights. There's places like in Ecuador and all that have this rights of nature legislation, or
Mother Earth.
I don't know if legislation is the right word, but anyway, policy, vote laws. And we don't have that yet. Some people are working on that. So that was in my mind as well.
Or like giving Mother Nature personhood. So then, an entity with personhood would have rights, just like the US has given corporations personhood.
Yeah, there was something on NPR just recently that was talking about it in those terms.
Yeah.
I see that Alice has her hand raised and wonder if you'd like to say something.
Yes, I wanted to ask Kamala to give more information about something I had not yet heard, the 51st state. Could you talk about that? Because I know
Washington D.C. is.
Oh yes, what am
yeah.
I thinking? Yes, Washington D.C. Somehow I thought it was a different landmass, but no, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we need that. I mean, what do you?
And
we revolted, right?
yeah. And my dad had sent me a list of words that he was asking about, and I just remembered that canicula is on that, and it's the time in August that I guess corresponds in English sort of to dog days, but it has a little more, I guess that's the incantation side of it, maybe too, that it's sort of a special time. I draw more out, but in case anybody was wondering, that's what canicula is. And that's the time. So shall I move on to the next poem, Tammy? I'm going to read from the section that is dedicated to our mom. My brother's on here too, so and it's called Maternal Inheritance in Times of Great Hate. And I'm going to read just a little section from one a letter poem and then the postscript poem. And the letter poem was the send off. It was when we did a scattering of ashes for her. And this part I thought was important today, or this time. I do a lot about dust and returning to dust and soil and earth and all of that. But the part I'm going to read here gets into music a little bit. Well, here, you were good with transitions in perspective, toward better ways of seeing, of being, toward growing flowers and goodwill, justice, peace, and freedom. You worked from the idea to the printed page as your Wordsworth business cards read. And now the full extent of your cells remain in ashes, and those ashes will become one with the soil, with the grasses, with the wildflowers, with the wind. Mother, I remember you singing with your auto harp songs from Joan Baez's songbook. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Pete Seeger's composition from a Russian folk song against war, with Hickerson's verses that made it a circular song. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Flowers to girls, to young men, to soldiers, to graveyards, to flowers. Where have all the flowers gone? Gone to flowers, every one. When the bougainvillea was in full bloom at my place in San Antonio, my neighbor, daughter-in-law to the family that built the house and planted the bougainvillea, said to me she wished to take a bouquet of bougainvillea to her mother-in-law. I was glad to give her the flowers, though I knew her mother-in-law had died some years before I bought the house. Only later did I fully comprehend the bouquet was going to her mother-in-law's grave at the San Fernando Cemetery. In this peace garden, ashes will feed ancient soils that will nurture the flowers, that will honor the souls of those whose ashes are scattered here. We commemorate their lives and spirits, as well as those who remain here from across the millennia, those who visit, those blown in by wind. We see in the prairie grasses that the world seems bigger, while at the same time we feel more a part of it, and it is more our own. Postscript. Mom, in a sense, our relationship is one long Mobius strip, a twist upon a smooth path with no boundaries, an end that leads to a beginning. The day our nation distilled the doom of decades upon decades into a single figure, I made a haiku placard that read, "World citizens, planetary patriots, hijas del mundo." The next day and many days since, I held that sign high for us. We talked maybe once after that. Then when I called and Dad put the phone on speaker for you both, you only listened. But I know you knew, Mother, that I carried that sign for you. Daughters of prairie and village, daughters of Madre Tierra, world citizens, planetary patriots, hijas del mundo. And one reason I wanted to read the postscript today was that Tammy took this wonderful picture. This is true. It was the Women's March right after the inauguration or whatever of that president, sort of. Anyway, and I was there and I saw Tammy and she took a wonderful picture with my I don't know if you remember that, Tammy, but I have it on my Facebook page for a while. It's the World Citizens, Planetary Patriots, hijas del mundo, and which hijas del mundo is daughters of the earth or the world. in case
Yeah, I
anybody.
have that photo again on a different computer, and I was hoping that I could share it tonight. But I no, it's not easily retrievable at this moment. But yeah, it's a really great. It's like a signature photo for you, and I think you're wearing Guatemalan cloth that day. It
I
seemed that you
might have
were.
been,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's a keeper. I'm glad I caught you in that moment. It really catches your spirit.
And then when I read from the other poem, I was thinking of reading that one. Well, I went back and forth, but then I wanted to read the part about Pete, the Where Have All the Flowers Gone, coming from a Russian folk song against war, because I think it's important. I know I saw Kamala Harris yesterday. I think I think she was in Poland, and she called it Putin's war. And I thought that is a lot more appropriate than, always condemning the people of Russia for what they don't even have a clear idea of what's happening, because we're in that same position an awful lot of the time. And so I wanted to make note. When I saw that today, I was like, oh yeah, that's great. So any other thoughts on that one?
I think it's a beautiful tribute to your mother, and I like, especially the part where you're addressing her directly. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I like doing letter poems, and also I say in the beginning of the book, and another reason that I wanted to read this, besides that it's actually the anniversary, I realized of, it's been 5 years since my mom passed away, and our mom passed away in February, but we had in March, we had her memorial life celebration, and it was just sort of like this weekend. So I realized that after the fact, because it was right after my spring break, same in my, and I think of those in the beginning. I talk about how the memorial poems are not just for her, but for, everyone, that there's a lot of folks that I acknowledge the people that are still walking in my poems that are no longer here with us. So I think that's important right now, to try to bring them back into our poetry. And Tammy and I were on a at Resistencia the other night, and it was the birthday of Raul Salinas, and it was good to think about him on that date too, and hear poems from one of his friends, actually, Teresa Paloma Acosta. So that we keep people alive that way. And another thing that I do with my poems is I sometimes make them out of other writing that I've done before. And the one that I'm gonna read next is I call it a found poem, and it border wall public comments, born fall 07, born into poetry on the day of the 67th Nakba in Palestine. And I wrote these comments for a NEPA public commentary period on the border wall that was being planned at that time. And right now, or in the past few years, we've been thinking a lot about that process, because in our parks, they're chasing away birds, they're cutting down heritage trees or want to, and San Antonio is they're not making they're supposed to have, if they have a federal entity involved, and it's the USDA Wildlife Services it's called, that then you're supposed to have a NEPA. You're supposed to have something where people can write or speak and say, this is how I think it's going to have an environmental impact. And that isn't happening in San Antonio. And but it did happen down for that border wall, and a lot of us made commentary, and this poem came from that. And I'm gonna read just part of it. So where I'm starting, it would be the most mean-spirited continental irony to diminish the commons at the main point of confluence, but that is precisely what is proposed. And I'm talking about the confluence of Mexico and the US and the Rio Grande, Rio Bravo, and right where the wall is going to be. Dichos and research tell us neighborly people keep the safest neighborhoods. In daily wisdom de la frontera, the truism applies to countries as well. Our homeland is secure when we are respectful toward our neighbors, engendering their understanding of us, their goodwill toward us. We borderlanders, fronteristas, protect our commons, which in turn protects us. Before cross-border shopping, immigrant labor, ecotourism, before the border itself, we shared ecosystems and cultures. Those original brushlands, river deltas, coastal plains, now altered or destroyed, left behind remnants that we on both sides in ambos lados hold in common. When connected by a wildlife corridor, loss of a few acres of habitat on either side destroys more than those acres. The ecosystemic commons is a neighborhood, a secure, sustaining homeland, as the Kickapoo and their kin know well. The endangered ocelots habitat is most famous, but a border wall's impacts would be lost to all. The destruction of a single species is an irreversible loss. The destruction of the trust we hold with Mexico in our common natural heritage will take with it the confianza, shared respect between neighbors, the irreplaceable events of every morning and evening in this nexus of migratory routes for birds and butterflies, in the meeting of tropics and subtropics, in the merging of Gulf waters, coastal wetlands, and inland brushlands, in the watersheds of the Rio Grande and the Arroyo Colorado, and in the mezcla of Boca Chica Beach, where two countries, one Rio and one Gulf, converge. Heed the words of those around the world, separated from family, friends, and neighbors by walls from outside forces. For the sake of all who live in or pass through the borderlands, from the tiny rare butterflies that occasionally leave their Mexican homelands to grace the Rio Grande Valley with their presence, to the elusive ocelot, to gente with generations on both sides who cross for quinceañeras, weddings, births, and wakes, for trekking with abuelas and primas on the monte, even for the sake of the cross-border shopper going both ways. Leave the wall in the box, return it in hopes of a full refunding of cross-border neighborliness built of the security that comes of shared well-being held in common with all in our border Earth's communities.
Very necessary, very powerful.
And I think I just had one more short one here. This was also from the Rio Grande Valley of Valle. And this poem has a little story behind it, in that I did work with some of the refuges down there as the wildlife refuges as a master naturalist. And the title, Estero Llano Grande, was the name of the refuge that they had asked for a poem to put on. They were making, I think they were little pins, little animal pins or something. And then they had a card and it had poems on it. I mean, they had this idea. And so it was sort of, Anyway, this was the poem. So it's a short little poem, but, and I've played with it since too, but that's where it got its beginning. And Estero Llano Grande also means big wet gathering spot, which is the beginning of the poem. Big wet gathering spot on the dry plain, donde monte meets prairie, coastal plains greet ebony and sable, huizache, mesquite. Host those travelers who know Mexico, Estados Unidos, and Canada are one. Place of rest alongside the long mid-continental prairie, running south from glaciers to Gulf waters. Place where I met all my kin, two-legged, four-legged, winged, finned, and scaled. Place where I heard seedlings calling my name. Place of migration, place of return.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Would you folks like to unmute yourselves and offer some generous gratitude for Kamala's reading tonight?
oh, actually, there was one other one. Do you want to hear one more?
Sure. Yeah. I thought that was the last one.
I
didn't
was
mean to
gonna.
cut you off, sorry.
This one is also in here, but in a longer edition. And this one and the edition, I did this poem in the Boundless, the International Poetry Festival of the Rio Grande Valley. It got nominated for a pushcart prize. And so I'm going to read that one, even though it is in this book, and it's called, and I wanted to get the birds in there. We've mentioned them a little bit, but this is Egret's Elegies, and it's after Derek Walcott, who also has a lot of writing about egrets. Winter of West Side displacement. First week of Advent, city workers don white hazmat suits, prefiguring the prevalence of pandemic protective garb. Men board motorboats and rafts, journey out, and with the slow, deliberate fury of a 21st century cyclone, they make landfall. Deboard on Bird Island, stirred by avian phobias, they stomp out and bag the vegetation in devilish pantomime. By the beginning of halcyon days, they have denuded Bird Island. Following city edicts, men in suits remove all nests. Audubon volunteers transfer 6 nests south of town, rewire them into trees on the banks of recycled sewage waters where people will visit from the north side and other waterfowl abound. In the interim, west side barrio displacement threatens Alazan Apache Los Cortes, built 1937. Plans are set in place for generations of people, of birds and people who share decades, neighborhoods, La Paz and El Barrio to be sent packing. One sunny afternoon, 2 great egrets venture out on the island's barren ground. They arch wings and dance, rising in rhythm, each with the other, dance to drum beats we cannot hear. Their dance defies the city that denies them roost and nest. They dance a final dance, fly off, follow waters to the Gulf. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to post the link for the Flower Song book, Gravity Prevails, in the chat, in case anybody is interested in purchasing that. And do you know, do you have a schedule for future readings from this book? I mean, did it officially come out last month, or can you tell us?
Actually, January 25th, I think it was the official coming out. Okay. And it's been a really busy period and I haven't gotten to do as much, but yeah, I have in the fall, I'm thinking it's September, there's a reading scheduled with Pramila, one of the my people that wrote blurbs for the book. And she was my colleague at Nassau Community College years ago and is a poet, and we've kept in touch. And just recently did the introduction for she has a program called Matwala, which is South Asian poets, and they were doing a series with different women poets of color, and they did the Native American poets, and that was just a week or so ago. But anyway, man, I got to do the introduction for that, which was really a wonderful opportunity, and a beautiful set of poets. So I'm putting in a plug for her website and stuff. It's MATWAALA. Anyway, Pramila has also, and I can't say the name of the program, but we're doing one for her. I am and another of the authors at the Flower Song, who just had a book poetry out, and that's in September. So it's coming up a ways once we get through the summer. So, and I'm sure I will do something sooner than that, but that's the one I know about right now.
Is that the correct link in the chat, matwala.com?
It might be.
It's
Did you find
South,
it? I mean,
South Asian Diaspora Poets Collective.
yes. Oh, thank you so much, Tammy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it mentions the event on March 3rd, the Native American event, which was just several weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think the recording is there too, actually, for that.
Okay.
Wonderful
Well,
poet.
congratulations on this collection coming out. And I know it's a fraught time and there's so much going on, but I hope folks will take the time to discover the fruits of the book. And I'm looking forward to receiving a copy. But I am also proud to know you as a friend and have been kind of tracking all your progress there in San Antonio in terms of helping to protect trees, birds, front yard, landscapes, etc.
Yeah, it sometimes it feels like the war zones and everything that are obviously much more horrendous things happening elsewhere, but it's like this little, you experience the things in somehow it gets internalized into your life, and that's been my issue, which I guess comes out in the book. In fact, the cover is a Gulf fritillary butterfly on a stem of amaranth, which I took on my lot, which I think most of you know was under attack from the code compliance and development services this summer, and I don't know, probably still, but anyway, I'm still trying to. My current strategy is to encourage the plants that we can forage that are not recognizable as garden plants or native plants. So that, because they were getting pulled up, my plants were getting, as well as being told I had to mow it all down, plants were also getting stolen. So, oh, there you put it on that's great.
Yeah, I just shared it briefly. I'm going to share something else, which your previous poem brought to mind, and that's the fact that in Brownsville, Texas, in that area of the Rio Grande Valley, folks are really having to contend with a new neighbor. And you talked about people working and collaborating and being good neighbors. And so SpaceX has been established there in Brownsville, and apparently in the city of Brownsville, there's a mayor, the current mayor, who's very much a proponent of the development. And the the changes, let's just say changes going on that impact people in terms of housing costs and access to family beaches and things like that. So there's a young woman who herself is a environmental justice activist who wrote 4 words, and I'm going to share the image here in a second. Wrote 4 words on a exterior of a building in downtown Brownsville, and her 4 words were gentrified, keep out, SpaceX, something like that. You'll see it in a second. You can correct me once you see it. She was arrested for that, putting those 4 words on the wall, even though she's not admitted, she's not accepted the charges. I don't know, she hasn't been fully charged, and she's about to be going to court. And I'm really I'm about a week behind in the news about this, so I could be way behind in what's happened recently about this. But I definitely feel a lot of empathy for Becca Inaosa's experience, and I have friends who know her, and there is a fundraiser happening to raise funds to help her with legal expenses. The words are gentrified, stop SpaceX. She has not confessed or admitted to writing these. Her oppositional energy is more like, yeah, if people want to write that because that's how they feel, how much damage does that do in life in our city, as a damage being done to our beaches and the air and noise pollution and the light pollution happening right now is impacting families. People are feeling the pinch already with housing costs. So if you're inclined to visit this website, Becca Inaosa, if you even Google her name, you'll find a couple of interviews that have been conducted with her. And I believe the Texas Observer, I believe, has written an article about her dilemma. So thanks for hearing that.
Can I add something relatedly?
Of course.
Because the other thing I mentioned, Boca Chica Beach, and that's also where there's a natural gas. I can't remember the name of what they do now with it. But it's there since the time when we were fighting the wall, and that's another thing that people are really fighting, and it's having similar effects right near Brownsville. And in that part of the tip of Texas there. So I wish I could say if anybody knows the name of the natural gas. Anyway, you know, Tammy, what I'm talking about, or some of the native tribes down there have been very active in fighting.
Como Come Crudo.
Yeah,
I don't know the full name of their tribe. They're resisting as much as they can.
And so it's the land is being changed in many places here.
And I think people's right to speak out is being challenged. Folks are feeling like they have to be silenced and go with the flow. The mayor of Brownsville has been photographed with his arm around Elon Musk. So the official line of the city government in Brownsville is very pro SpaceX, pro Elon Musk. And there's talk that Elon Musk is wanting to create a whole kind of billionaires town to be called Space Town, which would take up the area, which is the Brownsville Beach. And it's, according to Becca Inaosa, it's the only affordable beach where Brownsville working class families can take their children. So there's a great encroachment. It's happening very quickly in the RGV, and because I think things can happen under the cover of night, because if light isn't given to these kinds of encroachments and the damage being done. So Becca Inoosa was arrested by 4 officers 2 days after the graffiti appeared on the wall in Brownsville. She wasn't allowed to change into her day clothes or to put on shoes. When she arrived at the jail, they took away her glasses, which she needs. She says she claimed that she needs them even to brush her teeth. And when they sent her to the cell, they said, you don't need these because you won't be doing any reading. So it's just egregious what they're doing. The mayor himself also posted her mugshot photo on his official mayor website, Facebook page. And and he doxed her because he referred to her employer by name.
Mm.
So these folks need our support. The link, I'll put the link for the fundraiser and for Becca Inoosa, and encourage you to look further into the story. Don't take my word for it, but for sure there's more to share.
Thank you.
If I may just add a word I prefer instead of natural gas, I say fracked gas.
Yeah, it's a special process that they're doing. Do you know the name of that of the plant, Alice?
And I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay.
But just generally speaking,
Yeah.
fracking, fracking and flaring, and contributing to the poor quality of our breathing substance.
This is where it brings it all down there, and then it goes out from there, so it's from, I suppose, Eagle Ford and wherever that it's being produced, but it's sort of, destroying the area.
So hello to those who have arrived. We did have the featured reading by Kamala Platt, and maybe I can entice you to read one more in a minute, Kamala, for these new arrivers. We have Priscilla, Selena Suarez, and Lorraine Caputo. And if either of you would like to read a poem and greet us here during Women's History Month with a work that might be appropriate for the theme of Recordando las Mujeres, just raise your digital hand or unmute yourself and let it be known you'd like to read something. We would welcome you to the sharing space. Thanks for being here tonight.
I have one that not only fits in with Women's History Month, but also, what is it? On March 24th, it's International Day for the Right to the Truth Concerning Human Rights. In Argentina, they celebrate the Día de la Memoria por la Verdad y la Justicia, the day for the memory of the truth and justice, because that is the anniversary of the 1976 coup that brought in the military dictatorship.
Please share with us, Lorraine. I welcome your poetry. Thank you. Thanks for stepping up.
This is called Giving Birth, and it has an epigram. Los hijos parieron a nosotras. The children gave birth to us.
Wow.
And that's something that Mercedes de Meroño, of the Madres de la Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires said. On this cooler summer day, just after 3, people mill around the Plaza de Mayo. The Cabildo clock begins the half-hour toll. Already the mothers hold their blue banner, not one step back. The filtered sun brightens their white headscarves, and onlookers quietly draw to them. Our steps slow counterclockwise round the obelisk. I close my eyes. The music of many tongues washing around my thoughts. For how many years now, mothers, grandmothers, you search for your children, your children's children. How many years you keep their dreams, their example alive in your being, your actions, and your thick veined legs that each week vigil for what they, your children, taught you. Police in bulletproof vests stand in formation beyond heavy black metal mesh. Each week, for these almost 28 years, each week until you pass from this life. 4 p.m. toll, that fence opens towards the Casa Rosada. We stroll to a statue where the mothers share what they have learned from their children to fight against injustice, to create a new world where these mothers give birth to new. And when you pass, mothers, we, your children, in La Lucha, shall continue to march counterclockwise.
Mhm.
Wow, thank you. I love that reading.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's a beautiful poem. It was also beautifully read and added to the strength of it.
Thank you, Kamala.
Mhm.
So, Priscilla, Selena Suarez, would you like to read something? And feel free to not read something. I'm just wanting to extend an opportunity for folks who have recently arrived. Okay, got
She
it.
says no
Thank
thanks.
you. Thanks for
She
being
helped
here.
with the book though, didn't you, Priscilla? She did some of the typesetting. She's working for Flower Song.
Flower Song? Oh,
Yeah, so I'm really happy to have you here.
oh, that's wonderful.
And
That's
my
wonderful.
cousin Marcia's here too.
Ah, yeah, just arrived.
Yes.
So I'll read another one, and then I'll invite anybody else to share if they're inclined to once I share this work. This one, this piece was written before I ever heard the term self-care or self-love. And it's a moment in time that took place easily 10 years ago. And I'm just honored to know so many strong, wonderful women outside of my biological family. Of course, I revere, my mom and cousins, and I have a sister and a very strong niece, and all powerful people. And I just want to extend a moment to say, hey, this is being in a cultural artist life has allowed me the opportunity to meet so many other wonderful mujeres around the country and beyond. And I respect all of you and continue to admire your work, your wisdom, your resilience. So Patricia Gonzalez, who is a curandera and a scholar, I think she's still at the University of Arizona at Tucson, teaching an Indigenous Studies program there. She grew up in this city where I am, Fort Worth, Texas, and when she comes to visit her family, she will sometimes stop by if she can find me, and usually with no notice, she'll just knock on the door. And one time she came to my door and I opened it, and there she was with her now ex-husband, Roberto, and I immediately fell to my knees. I don't do that. I don't do that for statues. I don't do that for in front of religious buildings, but I did that for her, and it was completely and utterly not of my American programming, not it was beyond a mental or cognitive structure. It was just my spirit caused me to just fall to my knees. I was just so honored for her to be there on my front porch. She offered to give me a limpia, and this is the poem I wrote about that. And the limpia happened a few days later. The limpia. She bade me lie upon my back and never mind the world. Just close your eyes and see white light. I heard the sound of broken stems as she pulled off the flower heads. She gently placed several on my torso. Then I felt sudden pressure as she rubbed me down with blossoms, brushing the petals into my skin with short, swift strokes, like erasing a name, striking a match. The scent of the flowers made my room a midday garden, a bed of serene and quiet prayer. The last one, then, a carnation white, she perched between my lips, and it was that one, that last flower, that set me singing in budding bursts of melodic tears that sang down my face in two racing liquid trails.
Wow. Wow.
And of course, when I reread that or feel it when I'm reading it and thinking about that piece, it's just it's many things, but it's about being there for each other and extending gifts to each other, be it curandera wisdom or comida or me taking a photo of Kamala, which you apparently now cherish. So I cherish that you cherish that photo, and I'm happy it was there in that moment at that marcha in Austin. So that to me is part of being part of a movimiento here in the 21st century, sharing our cultural and creative work, also fighting the good fight, being upstarts and resistors against hate and destruction of our natural world and our own spiritual lives and family lives. Um, so we show up for each other in so many great ways, and that poem helps to honor one way how Patricia showed up for me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So limpias can happen with things besides eggs or escobas, brooms or eggs. You can try with flowers. That's very potent for me to read. I just I feel it in my belly. Anyone else want to read something? Share another work or anuncio or shout out? Well, let's do it this way. I'm going to post something in the chat right now, and it is a link. And some of us did this last month, so it's completely cool and not harmful to you or your computer. So a techie writer created this website, yourworldoftext.com, and I've created a sublink or a location for Recordando las MUJERX. So if we can all copy and paste this into a new browser window, basically, once you arrive there, you'll see a blank page. Well, it won't be blank for too long. Go ahead and type in this white space names of mujeres that you revere, cherish, and love. And you can take your cursor anywhere on the page, anywhere. So it's just saying. Join me.
Tammy, I don't understand the directions.
Okay, do you see the link in the chat that starts, it's www.yourworldoftext.com?
Oh, yes. And I put it in a browser and
a different browser window, a new one. And
okay.
you will you will be joining us in this shared space.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can just type.
Yep, type. If you know how to do hearts with alphanumerics, feel free to do that.
Does it have a different font or it's all the same font? It seemed like it
I
was.
believe it's the same. I've not experimented too much, but it's pretty much looks like it's Times Roman.
Okay.
You could do all caps, I think. Let me see if that works out. Yeah, you can.
Okay, and we're just supposed to type women that we. I'm typing our Marcille and I and my Richard's grandmother. And
There
I
you
typed
go.
Bela Banerjee, who's was a co-worker of my parents and friend in India. And
Oh, good. Somebody did the heart thing. I'm
Ah.
not real good at learning. I'm typing those alphanumeric emojis or symbols.
oh, that's pretty cool.
Great. So thank you. Thank you for playing here together in that space that way. Do we know a Davy Goliath? Anyone? They're arriving now. Okay, I'm about to admit them. Let's see if they belong here.
Okay.
They're welcome, of course. I just didn't recognize the name. Alice, Lorraine, do you have another piece? Oh, Davy Goliath is a known person, Brian McCarthy. Yes.
So can people see if they didn't click on, if they weren't able to click in the chat, can they still see the what we created with the names, or is there a way to?
No, they'll have to, you'd have to share the link with them.
Okay, because I don't think okay.
So Brian, the link in the chat that says www.yourworldoftext.com. I don't know if you see that. If you copy and paste that into a new browser window, you will join a shared space where just minutes ago, we started to type the names or initials of Mujeres Poderosas, women we revere and love and hold as beloved.
Okay, thank you.
And
Except I don't see anything in the chat. I'm sorry, but I'll try and figure it out in the background.
Oh, that's because you're a new arrival, and so you don't get to see the previous notes. So I'll just type that in again for you right
Excellent, thank you.
there. And this is a new app that I learned of in January.
And you recommend copying it and pasting it into a new browser window, did you say?
Correct, correct.
Roger.
And once you are there, you'll see a bunch of names that we've typed. We started with a blank screen and then started typing the names of women that we revere or uphold as strong.
Oh, wow,
and
that is cool. Thank you. And I can
And you
just type any.
Yeah, and you can move the cursor anywhere and click and then start typing there.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And then for the second bit of this, the final bit, just anywhere where around where the names are, if you could write an adjective or descriptive phrase of the reasons why we uphold these people. Let's do that for about 30 seconds or so.
Okay. And Tammy, may I ask, I hope, appropriate question? There are a number of males of the species present amongst us. And if they are also writers and poets, is it appropriate to invite them if they would like to also say say or read?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
Yay! I thought it was appropriate.
Yes,
Yay.
yes. Anyone can read tonight. Yeah. So let's see.
I'm not sure. I don't think that everybody can see the chat, but I'm also putting Marcia's mom, Noni Godwin. She's actually the one that the plant or the terrarium, I think that the place you suggested to me, ephemeral terrariums in Fort Worth, and my cousin, we sent her a gift certificate, and my aunt Noni is now enjoying one of the terrariums in her hospital room there in Fort Worth. So I put her name in there too. And she raised, she had a childcare place in her home for years and years and years. And so there's been so many people that have been raised by her, sort of, that are hoping for her good health.
That's great. Thank you for lifting her name up. Thank you. Beautiful. And so this document that we've co-created is something that we can look back at, and I can share the link in the Facebook event page if folks want it for later. So yeah, this is kind of a little bit of a document of what we were thinking about and feeling tonight. Thank you for playing. Thank you. I want to quickly share something, and I'm eager to see if other folks in other Texas towns might be wanting to participate. And that has to do with coming up with a creative way to oppose the banned book frenzy that's happening in our state. So I'm going to be planning with others. I won't do this alone. A wonderful, I hope it will be wonderful, banned book reading and right to read. And that should be RIGHT. Gosh, right to read solidarity event Monday, April 25th at a venue called Tulips in Fort Worth, an in-person event. And I wanted to host the Fort Worth event that week because that happens to be the week when the Texas Library Association State Conference will be taking place, and it will be taking place in downtown Fort Worth that same week. So I'm hoping to piggyback with what the TLA is doing, because they have just started a new initiative, which is titled Right to Read. And so I definitely feel like right now libraries and librarians are doing some important work, and I don't want to miss an opportunity to create a really communal event that talks up our right to have books in libraries and schools for others to read without question. I mean, if they've been vetted by librarians who are professionals, they have their standards. And I work at a library, so I know what processes they go through to choose which books we have in our collection. It's not done in an offhand, careless way. So here's another link to National Coalition Against Censorship has this downloadable kit, an action kit, Kids Right to Read, and this is for students and parents to have a look at. There's a lot of materials. I'm starting to dig in to the internet to find out what kinds of things might be useful for us to share as writers and authors these days, and to not cower in fear about what we face in terms of the struggle.
Tammy?
Yes.
Would you, if those links are not copyable from the present, like the slides you just showed us, could you paste them into the chat as well, please?
Sure.
So that later when we save this chat, we have the opportunity to just click directly to those events and that information.
Of course. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for getting it there.
So yeah, a lot of information has been shared, and I trust that folks will continue the good work and the good fight. Oh, I put that link in twice. Oh well. So I'm gonna just ask another time if somebody would like to read an additional poem or piece, or if you have some unscripted statement to make. The floor is open.
I read one more. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to raise my heart up in honor of a woman who has been doing amazing work, amazing friendship and love work lately, taking care of a dear friend of mine and a dear mentor and pal and guiding light for me. She is a friend of his who has moved into his house for the last 2 months, leaving her family behind in order to take care of him in a time of great need. And she is the type of person that sets a standard that it's difficult for us to hold close to get close to just put your own life on hold like that for a friend that you love dearly. She's someone that I strive to emulate in having that good of a heart. So this one, I dedicate my participation tonight to Jackie Mills Dickinson. Go, sister.
Thank you.
I think she heard that. Oh. Lorraine, Kamala, you said you were gonna offer another poem.
Well, I just thought maybe some of the people that didn't get to hear me before, I could read one more.
That's a great idea.
Is that good?
I'll mute myself and just begin when you're ready.
Okay. This one is called Conjunto Dancing for La Gloria. And La Gloria was a building that had been a filling station with a dance hall on top. And it was destroyed despite a lot of community getting together and wanting to save it. But that's the background to the poem. In Kansas, there is a Mennonite joke that says we forbid sex because it might lead to dancing. And yes, dancing is that basic, as the first peoples tell it. Dance is the heartbeat of Nuestra Madre, red mud trembling, universal frenzy made fuerza unida. So when I heard they took down La Gloria, where your grandparents danced their first shy dance, where El Diablo danced with your prima, where tias y tias, tios y todos familias came out on summer nights for rooftop garden parties that rivaled the Mengers. When I heard they destroyed the old filling station with rooftop dance floor on April Fool's Day, 7 decades after the building's grand opening on Aurelia Elizondo's birthday, what a better gift could a beloved give? I wondered, was that the day Conjunto died? Bye bye, American Pie y todos. Sin Conjunto, I fear for the West Side, my neighborhood now. I fear the devils, not the hoof-footed dancers, but the iron-heeled who've taken over the radio waves, replaced Conjunto Tejano del Sur with brand name Spanglish musicaca. Those devils who turn heartbeats into heartbreaks and use nuestro pueblo to build their personal corp power. Whoops, where are we? 2, international students foreign to 1950s Kansas came to Grandma's homestead to dance away from this college that forbade their traditions. A decade later, I was growing up there between Bethel, Meadowlark, and Sand Prairie against the too strict Mennonite order of things, but with the blessings of my family's generations. I remember my grandparents dancing in their den, moved to the music's beat, my mom encouraged, but my grandma let me dance off beat. I wonder now, how will our generations, our barrio, continue if we let them take down our baile, our conjunto dance gardens? Where would la música move upon warm winds, riding city night breezes? Where would music hit down on rooftop and plazas, twirling dancers into tornadoes? Where would La Calavera Orchestra play? Where would Diablos y Angeles dance? Will Conjunto flee or rise to Aztlan? Will la gente follow their música? Will the white egrets, herons, and anhinga on Our Lady's Lake flap sadly to the north side, looking for those who betrayed them? Will Tonatzin greet the groupies y los grupos when El Conjunto is dead? Will Rosedale Park, Conjunto Fest Plaza up Martin Street from Mi Casita also fall before bulldozers trained in community gardens of South Central LA, halfway across the continent, live oaks unearthed like olive trees, ancient Palestinian groves falling to caterpillars, yet in yet another occupied neighborhood, half a world away, yet close enough to feel el grito de silencio, the aftershock of cultural demolition.
Thank you, Kamala. I've posted the Flower Song Press link for ordering your book, Gravity Prevails. And thank you so much for being here to share from that collection and other work as well. I wish you great stamina and rest also.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you've got a lot on your plate. Turning dancers into tornadoes. Yeah, I love that image too.
Wow.
Entonces, ¿qué más quiere leer otra para la última vez this night? Well, on that note, I'm going to, unless you have any questions or comments, I'm going to stop recording and we can hang around and chit chat a little bit longer. But yeah, that concludes our event for the evening, Recordando las Mujeres with MUJERX with Kamala Platt as the featured poet. Thank you so much for your attention and your presence here. And thanks for playing along with these exercises and things that I introduced. I will be sharing, I do save the chat and I'll see if I can put it on the Facebook event page, if it'll let me. All right, well, all right, let me hit the stop record button. And there we go.